That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever was, lived out their lives.
It is a wonderful and astonishing thing to me that you and I, are somehow at least one of the ways that the universe knows itself.
Those worlds in space are as countless as all the grains of sand on all the beaches of the earth. Each of those worlds is as real as ours. In every one of them, there's a succession of incidents, events, occurrences, which influence its future.
We are special because we're the same. We are one, not only with each other, but with the universe itself.
I know Hamlet, and what he might say with irony, I say with conviction. What a piece of work is man. How noble it is, how infinite in faculty, in form, in movement, how express and admirable, in action, how like an angel, in apprehension, how like a god.
It is the struggle itself that is most important. We must strive to be more than we are, Law. It does not matter that we will never reach our ultimate goal. The effort yields its own rewards.
Ten, 9, 8.
Let's 7, rock and roll!
6.
Hello, greetings mga ka-spacers natin out there. Magandang araw po sa inyong lahat. This is your ka-spacer and space commander, Professor June Cajigal from the BEDAN Society of Young Astronomers, welcoming you to the BEDAN Society of Young Astronomers Christmas presentation called 12 Days of Astronomy, wherein our members from BSYA prepared video presentations focusing on selected topics about astronomy. We would like to fulfill our commitment of promoting astronomy not only to the BEDAN community but to the general public. And at the same time, join you mga ka-spacers natin out there in celebrating Christmas. So join us as we celebrate the birth of our Lord Jesus Christ through our 12 days of astronomy. Enjoy! Alright mga ka-spacers, let's watch day 1 video which focuses on astronomy and the movies. Alright, let's watch this mga ka-spacers.
Apollo 13 being based on an actual event provides us a real sense of adventure and tension. Truly one of the most riveting movies to watch if you yourself are interested in astronomy. The movie begins with a surprise selection of Lovell's group to crew Apollo 13. Astronauts Jim Lovell, Fred Hayes, and Jack Swigert were played correspondingly by Tom Hanks, Bill Paxton, and Kevin Bacon. Additionally, there was Ken Mattingly, played by Gary Sinise, who was subjected to be ineligible for flight because he had been exposed to measles. Moving forward, we meet the members of their families, we follow some of their training, and then the movie follows the ill-fated mission in space and underground. Kranz, the Harris character, chain-smoking camels, masterminds the grand effort to figure out how and if Apollo 13 can ever return. When an oxygen tank exploded en route to the moon, the 3 astronauts on board were faced with the possibility of becoming marooned in space. Their oxygen could run out, they could be poisoned by carbon dioxide accumulations, or they could freeze to death. If somehow they were able to return to the Earth's atmosphere, they had to enter at precisely the right angle. A scheme is dreamed up to shut down power in the space capsule and move the astronauts into the Lunar Exploratory Module as a sort of temporary lifeboat. The lunar module was designed to support 2 people for 2 days, but was suddenly required to support 3 people for nearly 4 days. The crew subsisted on 6 ounces of water per person a day, power was severely rationed, and the temperature inside the cabin dropped below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, causing the crew great difficulty sleeping. The 2 spacecraft both used lithium hydroxide canisters to remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, but the canisters had different shapes on the 2 spacecraft. CO2 levels were approaching dangerous levels when the mission control designed a system using plastic bags, cardboard, and duct tape that allowed Aquarius to successfully use lithium hydroxide canisters from Odyssey. The crew used the engines on Aquarius to make 3 trajectory correction maneuvers that were needed to reach the landing zone in the Pacific Ocean. When Odyssey entered the Earth's atmosphere, it was unknown if the explosion had damaged the spacecraft's heat shield. Fortunately, it was undamaged. Because of the low cabin temperature, atmospheric humidity had condensed, covering the cabin interior with drops of liquid water that fell as rain during re-entry. Despite these dangers, the crew landed safely near Samoa 6 days after the mission began. This movie truly captures the successful failure and triumph of these intelligent men working hand in hand to survive what could have potentially been one of the most devastating space missions in history. Even though the technical material is dense and the action is confined to a space smaller than an elevator, the tension is breathtaking as the astronauts and the mission control team in Houston try to think of their way back home. Everything from duct tape to the cover of the flight manual to one of the astronauts' socks were used in the story, where mission control asks simply, "What's good in that ship?" and builds from there. The legendary "failure is not an option" said by Gene Kranz, head of mission control, when most people were certain the astronauts would never make it back, is one of the most heartening lines that depicts the crew's perseverance.
The movie begins on the timeline during the 1960s, in which racial and gender inequality is prevalent. White people are separated from colored people and are treated differently. The 3 African American women named Katherine Johnson, Dorothy Vaughan, and Mary Jackson are all gifted with brilliant minds and works at NASA as colored computers. Take note that computers during the 1960s were people, primarily women. They were the ones who reduced or analyzed data using mechanical calculators. Racism and discrimination are revealed to be at the forefront of this film, but the film also highlights strong and brilliant powerful women who overcame racial stereotypes, gender biases, and even being belittled by men. The 3 African American characters, Catherine, Dorothy, and Mary, demonstrated to NASA headquarters that they can be just as good as the others despite their differences in race and gender. They are also the brains behind one of the history's greatest and most historic operations, in which they contributed to data analysis and analytic geometry, and in which John Glenn was sent on a mission to become the first American to orbit the Earth, which occurred on February 20, 1962. He was a passenger on the Friendship 7 space capsule. How does the film explore the vast world of space astronomy? The movie takes us back to the early 1960s, in which technology has not yet been fully developed into a high-level or advanced kind of AI technology. We generally know that astronomy movies are more focused on the sci-fi theme, in which there are multiple fictional characters. Some movies are about astronauts going into space because of some kind of missions. But what's special about this movie is that it delves deeper on what's behind all the preparation on space launching. Viewers can see the hardships of the people who were working at the NASA headquarters, analyzing data, and even solving hardcore advanced maths without high-tech calculators such as analytical geometry to determine the angular positions and latitudes before launching a rocket to space.
Next up on our list is The Martian. The Martian is an enthralling and rigorously realistic outer space survival story, which is Matt Damon plays as a NASA botanist stranded on the Red Planet after a sandstorm forces his crewmates to abort mission. Like Robinson Crusoe on Mars, Damon's right stuff hero has to get by on his own wits and science the heck out of the predicament. It won't be easy, but it is possible. And that's the exhilarating thrill of both Andy Weir's speculative fiction novel and screenwriter Drew Goddard's science fact adaptation. Considering that the United States hasn't launched a manned space mission since 2011, The Martian should do far more than just make Fox a ton of money. It could conceivably rekindle interest in the space program and inspire a new generation of future astronauts. As Mark Watney, Damon serves as the poster boy for these future space travelers, a good-humored, all-American team player who's just 18 sols or Martian days into his mission when he is impaled by a communication antenna and left for dead by his colleagues during a forced evacuation. Watney is the lowest ranking member of his team and the least equipped to handle such a situation, with one of the noble caveat. As a botanist specialist, his assignment was to investigate whether plants could grow in the environment without the fertilizer or water. And now, with only enough food to last 400 sols and the next planned mission nearly 4 years away, Watney's ability to pull off that tall order will determine whether he lives or dies. Actually, there are 1,000 different real-world things that could kill him, but it's clear that he won't survive unless he manages to cultivate Mars. The Martian finds director Ridley Scott and his team innovating once again, this time moving in the direction of the plausible to present the most realistic version possible of a manned mission to Mars. With a few well-chosen stylistic flourishes courtesy of costume designer Johnny Yates. Though the film proves reasonably suspenseful in parts, Scott isn't trying to generate the same real-time intensity as Gravity. In fact, The Martian takes place over nearly 2 years, demanding an altogether different pace. Nor does he distract himself with attempting to pioneer in the field of 3D filmmaking, though he does incorporate the technology in effective yet non-distracting ways. Though Watney has already proven himself resourcefulness by doctoring his own puncture wound, his recordings serve the dual purpose of giving him a chance to explain the complicated science ideas while endearing us to Damon's naturally charismatic personality. Now we move on to the question, how does the film explore the vast world of space astronomy? In the film, astronaut Mark Watney is stranded on the Red Planet, where in reality, in preparation for sending humans to Mars, NASA have completed one of the most extensive isolation missions in Hawaii, known as High Seas. The goal of the study was to see how isolation and lack of privacy in small group affects social aspects of would-be explorers. The most recent simulation was 8 months long, and the next mission was planned the next year after. Next in the movie, astronaut Mark Watney grows potatoes on Mars, where in fact NASA has already begun growing and harvesting lettuce on the International Space Station in preparation for deep space exploration. Growing fresh food in space provides future pioneers with a sustainable food supplement and could also be used for recreational gardening during deep space missions. Lastly, the movie has depicted the dangers of real-life space travel. Spaceflight is almost taken for granted. People hop into rockets and start them up with the ease of turning on a car engine. Getting into and out of a spacesuit takes matter of seconds. In a modern-day spaceflight, these things requires hours, days, and weeks of preparation, no matter how many times they've been done before. And that means there are dozens or hundreds of engineers, project leaders, and other staffers who are all essential for getting probes into space. Not to mention astronauts. By using real obstacles as Watney's enemy, the movie is also able to not only stick to real science, but also make it extremely fascinating. Once again, boring science problems become interesting when they are part of a great story. Major struggles arise because of how cold Mars is, and because it has different atmospheric pressure than Earth, and Watney's artificial habitat. NASA struggles to communicate with Watney and send him supplies because the distance between Earth and Mars are very far away from each other. It's fantastic to see a movie that captures that attitude, that passion is hardwired into people, that humanity is now making serious plans on taking people to other planets. Nature will trip us hard again and again, but that's the expected part of the journey. Overall, The Martian was a very interesting movie and a mind-blowing one, and we rated 9 out of 10.
Alright mga ka-spacers, so that's astronomy in the movies. I hope you have enjoyed and learned a lot about the movies featured in that video, like Apollo 13, Hidden Figures, and The Martian. So mga ka-spacers, let us now listen to the Christmas greetings of the officers of the BEDAN Society of Young Astronomers. And in our next video, we will be featuring astronomy and music. Yan, favorite ko yan, astronomy and music. Alright mga ka-spacers, let's watch this.
Hello everyone! A lot of you might already know me, but for those people who hasn't known me yet, I am Angeline Kilang, the president of the BEDAN Society of Young Astronomers. First and foremost, I would like to greet every one of you a very Merry Christmas and an advance Happy New Year. Also, I would like to ask for your prayers for those students and people who were struck by the typhoon Odette. Actually, gusto ko rin magpasalamat sa officers ko who wholeheartedly supported me and helped me throughout the activities of the BEDAN Society of Young Astronomers, as well for those students who joined the BEDAN Society of Young Astronomers family. Also, I would like to say congratulations to every one of you for succeeding this 2021, and I hope for you to have a great new year and a great new start in 2022. We can already let go everything that we want to let go this 2021 and start a new life or start a new one in 2022. A lot of us were a bit not that happy for this pandemic, but despite of this pandemic, we've already come too far and we've already done a lot of things that we haven't done when face to face. Gusto ko rin sabihin sa inyo na you did well, and extremely I am very proud of every one of you. For those students and people who are wanting to give up, I am saying that this new year would be a great year for everybody. Despite of having the pandemic ngayon, we are all succeeding in our doings, in ACADS, in our work, and I would like to commend every one of you for having a great 2021 ahead of you. For those people naman na gusto nang makalimot, gusto nang mag-let go, and gusto nang mag-leave ng past behind, you may all leave that in 2021. You may go out of your house, scream, and say, I will leave everything I want to leave in 2021. Or just really write a letter and throw it away or burn it away to say goodbye to everything, to say goodbye to those memories that you don't want to remember in this 2021. Despite of having the pandemic, I would like to say thank you to my moderator for the utmost support of helping us in the BEDAN Society of Young Astronomers. Sir June, gusto po kitang pasalamatan sa lahat ng tinulong niyo po sa akin, especially when it comes to doing the project proposal, especially when doing everything. And also, I would like to greet you and your family a great and safe 2022 ahead of you, and a great and safe Merry Christmas in ahead of you. Don't forget to pray, don't forget to thank the Lord for everything, and don't forget to say that you will do your best this 2022 again. Again, I would like to greet every one of you a very Merry Christmas and an advance Happy New Year. Thank you! Bye! Also, I want to greet my family a very Merry Christmas to my mother and my father. And that's all. Bye!
I'm an alligator. I'm a mama, papa coming for you. I'm the space invader. I'll be a rock and roll for you.
The first song is entitled Counting Stars. It is a song made in 2013 and one of the hit songs of One Republic that talks about the combination of disappointment, failures, and as well as regrets. This song emphasizes that we sometimes hope for a better life that we have right now. Counting Stars entails a story about a man who is drowning in an ocean full of regrets and disappointments. And just like counting stars in the dark night skies, it is hard to do, and you never know if you will be able to count those stars or save yourself from drowning. The song discusses teaching material happiness in favor of the multiple possibilities or opportunities life can give by focusing on persons' strengths and living freely. You could say that there are counting those stars.
But I'm not that bold, and I don't think the world is sold. I'm just doing what we're told. I feel something so right, doing the wrong thing. And I feel something so wrong, doing the right thing. I could lie. Everything that kills me makes me feel alive.
The next song in our SPACER's playlist is Space Shockin' by Deep Purple. Space Shockin' is a heavy metal song made in 1972. Describes what it would be like to be bouncing around the galaxy. visiting the far reaches of our solar system, and proving with aliens from other planets.
Starlight by the alternative rock band Muse. The protagonist in this 2006 alternative rock song imagines that a spaceship is taking him away from everyone he knows and loves. Far away, across black holes and revelations, he will never let go of the memories of the special woman he loves. As the line goes, "I will be chasing a starlight," it represents that one will be chasing the break of dawn, which symbolizes the end of his darkness or the end of his pain. Space Oddity by David Bowie. Released just days before the launch of Apollo 11, the shuttle with the first manned moon landing. This 1969 song was David Bowie's first hit, and it became a signature song. It is about an imaginary astronaut's troubled space trip, which leaves him floating helplessly above the Earth and the Moon.
Another one is Meteor Shower by Cape Town. The song Meteor Shower is about a person and who they love as they go through a metaphorical of a literal meteor shower. The person speaking cares very much about the other and would sacrifice many things for them and says so throughout the song.
Constellations by an American indie folk rock duo, Oh Hellos. Constellations explores what it feels like to have your own perception of the universe challenged and ultimately fall apart, using the Tower of Babel, shifting tectonic plates, and the changing nature of the stars to put its point into imagery.
Next one is E.T. by Katy Perry. The song has a science fiction vibe, and Katy acknowledged to Company magazine that she is fascinated by outer space in an interview. E.T. is a metaphor for meeting someone who is clearly not from this world, because how could somebody love me like this? She explained. Even though it's a metaphor, I'm very interested in all things future. I mean, I complain every day that the hoverboard hasn't been invented. I think it's insane. When I look up at the sky and the stars, I feel like there's so much out there.
Just one small step for woman, one giant for womankind.
NASA is all about wanting space, and it's full of cosmic metaphors. Irene compares herself to the universe and a star who refuses to let anyone dim her light. The song also begins with a rephrase of Neil Armstrong's famous quotation, which reads, "One small stride for woman, one huge leap for womankind." Drops of Jupiter by the American rock band Train. In the song, he imagines that after dying, his mom's spirit would go anywhere, and so a person would be likely to go explore the universe. As he explained in a BuzzFeed News interview, it's a story about my mother coming back after swimming through the planets and finding her way through the universe, and coming back to tell me that heaven was overrated and to love this life, you know.
For our next song entitled Rocket Man, it was released in 1972, and the artist who composed and sang was Elton John. The song is about a man ventures through the cosmos for 3 months at a time and comes back to Earth for a short while to see his wife and son, putting a strain between his love for space and family. It expresses what his long journey through space looks like while having his loneliness. The last song is entitled A Song About Space. The song was about the Filipina singer-songwriter Riz Lansangan's innate fascination for space and what's beyond the Earth. She mentioned that it was a translation of her curiosity into a simple but catchy song. It was used in one of NASA's videos for #Launch America campaign to support NASA's astronaut Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley as they hop on SpaceX Crew Dragon spacecraft in Florida on May 27, 2020.
Alright mga ka-spacers, so that's astronomy in music. And personally, I really love Deep Purple and that song Space Truckin'. Alright, so if we have any comments or reactions mga ka-spacers about our Christmas presentation tonight, just feel free to type in your comments or your reactions in our comment section below. Wag po kayong mahiya. And again, we would like to greet everybody a Merry Christmas mga ka-spacers. Alright, so let us now listen to this next video and Christmas greeting. This next video is about some recommendations on astronomy and novels, yung mga libro po related to astronomy. Alright mga ka-spacers, let's watch this.
An astronomical December to you, ka-spacers. It really is beginning to become a sweater weather season for us, isn't it? On this third day before the asterific Christmas, we'll be presenting to you a selection of cosmic reads that will certainly make your holidays more magical. I am Micaela Antisikin and
I'm Hannah Marie Franz Stan, who will be your ka-spacer presenters for today. An astronomical December indeed, Ate Micaela. These three spectacular book finds are certainly magical and fascinating enough to spice up this cozy season, especially for our ka-spacers who love to read. And for those looking for book recommendations, ka-spacers, this is your sign. We won't keep you waiting, so let's head on to the first book of the selection. Starting off strong and space-tastic, this one is titled Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. In this stunning new science-based thriller from the #1 New York Times best-selling author of The Martian, a lone astronaut must save the world from calamity. Rylan Grace is the lone survivor on a desperate last-ditch mission, and if he fails, humanity and the planet will perish. With his caustic demeanor and amazing talent for theoretical physics, Rylan Grace, the key protagonist, is a lot like Mark Watney. It also helps that the book reintroduces the original novel's catastrophic stakes and amps them up to 11. This is no longer just a story about one guy's survival. It's now a story about one man being in charge of the entire planet's survival. It's another book about problem solving under duress, in which a single man's ingenuity may aid in the resolution of a seemingly impossible challenge. Except he doesn't realize that right now he can't recall his own name, much less the nature of his task or how to perform it. Rylan recognizes that he now faces an insurmountable challenge with his crewmates dead and his memories hazily returning. As he hurtles through space in this tiny ship, it's up to him to solve an impossible scientific puzzle and save our species from annihilation. An ambiguous technological crisis can be oddly comforting in fiction, and the novel works best as we piece together the situation alongside Grace, whose memory loss is more of a device for parceling out information than a plot point. Aside from a passing revelation toward the end, this isn't a story that treats amnesia as a source of surprises. Weir uses the main character's isolation, which was so important in The Martian, as a handy excuse to ignore messy human issues in favor of a brilliantly planned set of trials that Grace compares to a video game.
The outcome is an engaging galactic odyssey for readers who can overlook its flaws. Grace's relentless quips read like the output of an algorithm-fed only Joss Whedon scripts. Astrophague would be the best thing ever if it weren't, destroying the sun. Weir's devolved voice allows for the painless delivery of facts, but it limits the emotions available to our hero, whose usual reaction to astounding events is irrational.
As we dive into our next book, this one is for the classics to read. Charted a few times as a Bildungsroman, and one of the books to read before one graduates. This is also great for if one chooses to read a lighter genre of philosophy and societal cynicism with a bit of random laughter in the mix. So, sit tight as we explore Douglas Adams' massively renowned comic science fiction, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, published in 1979. The plot centers around Arthur Dent, a hapless, down-to-earth Englishman who finds himself adrift in a world of randomness and absurdity, and while it mocks the modern society with wit and cynicism, it also attempts to illustrate a philosophical realization of a meaningless life. And the most notable part of the book is from the beginning. Adams describes the people on Earth as unhappy for pretty much of the time, because they spend a lot of their time trying to find solutions to this unhappiness. And in result, they superimpose this instead to tangible objects like money, which is why the phrase, "the world now revolves on money," is a thought that passes by. Aside from placing a philosophically random definition to a meaningless and happy life, the start of the summary, seconds before Earth is demolished to make way for a galactic freeway, says a lot about the infrastructures and land projects among different countries, if not all today, wherein ecosystems and agriculture are destroyed and neglected to clear space for building roads, highways, and buildings. The hero of the book, Arthur Dent, also lives on in our galaxies after an asteroid was named after the character, Asteroid 18610 Arthur Dent. The asteroid Arthur Dent was found on the 7th of February in 1998 with the 45cm telescope in Heppenheim, Germany by Felix Hormuth. The character, Arthur Dent, was described as an ordinary earthling whom, in Hormuth's words, was confronted with the adversities of life, the universe, and everything in a highly amusing and entertaining way. The asteroid Arthur Dent, on the other hand, is also quite ordinary in his words. A member of the main belt, a few kilometers in diameter, with a 4-year orbit between Mars and Jupiter, nowhere near Earth at all. Unfortunately, Douglas Adams, the author of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, passed away 2 days after the official naming. Douglas Noel Adams, the author of our second galactic book, was born in Cambridge on the 11th of March 1952 to his management consultant and computer salesman father and nurse mother. He grew up in England, later moving with his mother and sister to live with his grandparents who run an animal shelter after his parents divorced. His passion for animals grew as a result of his time spent there, and has always demonstrated a high level of writing ability as well as a sense of humor. Adams was also an outspoken environmentalist, and while he adored technology and was a staunch promoter of Macintosh goods, he was also advocating for more sustainable technological advancements like universal chargers to save waste. We see this in some parts of the book where there had been plenty of hilarious digs toward the science, technology, their uses, and abuses. A lot of inventions mentioned go wrong in all too recognizable ways, like the fictional identities, a card designed to hold all the multiple secure passwords that promptly get stolen. He says that technology is a word that describes something that doesn't work yet. And we recommend this book because although it is peculiar, random, and a bit on the strange satirical humor side, a part of the book that the readers may or may not appreciate is how it places meaning to life, the universe, and everything. The Deep Thought is the name of a supercomputer built by a race of super intelligent aliens in the book to determine the answer to life, the universe, and everything. And its answer, anticlimactically, was 42. Readers also theorize that 42 is associated with computer and programming. In the American Standard Code for Information Interchange Language, or ASCII, 42 is the designation of an asterisk. And in programming language, an asterisk is commonly used to mean whatever you want it to be. So, Deep Thought answered the only way a computer understands, saying that the meaning of life is whatever you want it to be.
Proceeding to the last but definitely not the least of the selection, the Shards of Earth. Shards of Earth is the first high-octane part of the Final Architecture trilogy. From the author of the exciting science fiction epic Children of Time, this book is Adrian Tchaikovsky's first honest attempt at a space opera. Shards of Earth is a more traditional science fiction fare, a raging space opera featuring spaceship battles, genetically enhanced superhumans, and multiple weird and wonderful aliens. Some trade in people and others try to enslave them. But mysterious and menacing architects seem to barely notice when destroying a planet. Architects are moon-sized beings, and their divine abilities mean that they are free to rearrange spaces and worlds.
Our esteemed author for this last cosmic read, Adrian Tchaikovsky, is a virtuoso of science fiction and fantasy. His work spans galaxies and addresses major issues such as aliens, artificial intelligence, the link between magic and technology, and the separation between gods and mankind. Born in 1972 in Lincolnshire, Adrian Tchaikovsky had a varied career until he dedicated himself to writing full-time in 2018. He studied zoology and psychology at Reading before working as a solicitor in Leeds, West Yorkshire, where he currently resides and cuts a tall, imposing figure. We see the way he tries to portray the compassion, understanding, and offering humanity and solace that only psychologists can first provide. His work, The Shards of Earth, can also invite a message that looking after your own mind is already a daunting task in itself, without anyone around, because this deals with elements of loneliness, fear, and depression, and not being able to sleep because of it. This is shown in the 55 years that Idris has spent wide awake, piloting alone through the unspace, which is a fictional gravitational space that they pilot through in the book, which is said to have drastic effects on the mentality of the person or persons involved. Lastly, Shards of Earth had earned its place on our reading list because besides its fast-paced, strong story flow, it's also due to the unwilling diaspora that it also demonstrates. This is a lesson that must be taught and instilled in a society where more people are uprooted from their homes than ever before, taking away refugees, whether they are fleeing war, disease, famine, economic hardship, or aliens reconstructing worlds at all, is almost akin to turning away a portion of oneself.
For unknown reasons, turning a foreign spaceship or the whole world into a filigree sculpture that is completely incompatible with life seems to be her favorite pastime. In this universe, ships move between stars by getting on and off in a strange area called unspace. People who have gone under chemotherapy and psychosurgery programs are the only ones that are able to pilot through the unspace. Anyone who can steer a ship in this way Like Idris Telemere, one of the main characters in this book is of great value and is always at risk of being kidnapped and used by gangsters and space fleets. When the book begins, Telemere is trying to stay under the radar and working on a team of outsiders to save the destroyed spacecraft. But the strange psychic powers of space pilots are one of the few ways to telepathically communicate with architects. As the war with architects approaches, Telemere sees a diminishing chance of living a peaceful life. In addition to the problem, navigating space is not good for the human brain. It reacts by creating a sense of predatory being that can offend people. Passengers on ships moving between stars can sleep artificially, but pilots need to be awake. Telemere hasn't slept for 47 years, can you believe? And sometimes it shows.
This sums up our selection for the Cosmic Reads, and we duly hope within these finds their justice as we find their way between the shelves and toward your wish list. The Project Hail Mary, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and The Shards of Earth. This has been Date T, Cosmic Reads, and we hope you have a very merry intergalactic Christmas ahead.
Alright mga ka-spacers, so I hope you can now choose or select our recommended books about astronomy. So sana nag-enjoy po kayo dyan sa video na yan. Alright, again, if you have any comments or reactions in our Christmas presentation tonight, just feel free to type in your comments or your reactions in our comment section below. So in our next video and Christmas greeting, we will be featuring the art of space traveling. So ano kaya yun? The art of space traveling. Alright mga ka-spacers, let's watch this!
I would like to greet the viewers a pleasant and joyous holidays. This year may not be as smooth as what we all have arranged, but we all prepared and did our best to make this year a worthwhile one. I wish you all a wonderful Christmas celebrated with your loved ones, safe and hopeful as we welcome the new year ahead of us. May we continue to work together to help our fellow Filipinos in restoring their lost homes and building anew through this crisis. Continue on sending prayers and donations when possible. Again, a wonderful and delightful Christmas to everyone, and continue on spreading love.
Hello and good evening mga ka-spacers. Welcome to the 4th day of the BSYA's 13 Days Till Christmas. For today's topic, the art of space traveling. I am Hannah Marie Franstan, and here with me tonight is my ka-spacer partner,
Brant Nathan Lasseter Lorcha, greeting you all with an astronomical night. Now, if you may ask, what is space art? Space art is any form of artistic expression that depicts things outside of our own world. Planets, nebulas, the moon, satellites, or maybe possibly extraterrestrial life. Did you know that there is actually a wide range of astronomical arts? So we shall start at the very beginning, of course. We will not keep you waiting any longer. So, ka-spacer partner, itatabi ko na. Ikaw na!
Yes, partner, itabi mo na talaga. Ako na. Now, for the first on our list, this is Alexei Leonov, the first man to do a spacewalk. He nearly got trapped in space, but we're not here to talk about mortal danger. We're here to talk about art. He drew this at the Earth's horizon. All he used were some colored pencils and a small bit of paper. Though pencil were a bit problematic, pencil lead can shatter and scatter their matter all over the ship, which could harm the astronauts and the delicate electronics. This This is the same reason why NASA developed pressurized pens for their astronauts. Ball pens wouldn't work either because gravity wouldn't pull the ink down. So, special space pens it is. But nevertheless, Alexei was so enamored with space and the moment that he just had to draw what he was seeing. And wouldn't you do if you could? To capture the first of humanity? And here is a photograph of him drawing. A bit meta. Fascinating.
Now proceeding. In 1986, the 12th of January, NASA launched a space shuttle with holding inside 4 oil paintings. But why? Well, because of NASA's Getaway Special, also known as GAS, of course. GAS was a program that allowed interested researchers to launch their experiment to space. It wasn't successful at times though. But at least someone out there thought to test the properties of paint in space before the program was cancelled. The cross-discipline team, a tag team, Ellery Kurtz and Howard Wishnow, founded Vertical Horizons. Kurtz is the artist of the two, while Wishnow is an environmental psychologist, which basically means he studies how the environment affects the state of a person. Not how trees think. That would be something Cleve Baxter would do. Look him up. He's weird. Just like me. But why conduct this experiment? Well, because the astronauts and cosmonauts need their decor too. Food and water is good enough. It's great. But the aesthetics matter. Vishnu would know, that's for sure.
Moving on from specific works of art and now focusing more on organizations. Let us not waste any more minutes and we will now introduce them to all of you. Here on our list we have the International Association of Astronomical Artists, or simply IAAA. Yeah, 3 A's. IAAA is a non-profit organization whose members implement and participate in astronomical and space art projects, promote education about space art, and foster international cooperation in artistic work inspired by the exploration of the universe. They may also be called upon to depict those very probes and satellites, often working with NASA or JPL scientists. But who is out there to photograph them? They paint in oils, acrylics, gouache and markers, use pens, pastels or colored pencils, or the latest digital technology. But these artists have an advantage over mere technology, for they can travel where machines cannot. And this includes into the past, the future, and faster than light. A major activity of the IAAA are space art workshops. In most cases at remote locations with geology common to what has been discovered on other worlds, Iceland, Death Valley, Hawaii, the Colorado Plateau, including Meteor Crater, and other locations with a sense of the unworldly about them have been visited in workshops. Painting and sketching such scenery outdoors helps in training the artists to know the landscape and the forces shaping it, as well as to reinforce the sensory impressions one is putting into their work of the effects of light and shade in the atmosphere.
And now, ending this presentation space-tastically, I now present you Cosmica. Cosmica is a global institution founded in 2011 with the mission to create a space organization for critical, cultural, and poetic discourse on our relationship with outer space, space exploration, and the impact of these activities here on our lovely planet Earth. Cosmica curates and produces original content, projects, and programs. Each of their activities are unique, bringing together experts across disciplines to explore the cultural impact of space exploration. the future of humanity, and the most urgent issues we are currently facing on our lovely and only planet. They work in partnership with cultural, academic, and scientific institutions, as well as the space industry, all around the world to deliver our initiatives.
It may be saddening to bid our goodbyes for now, but do not worry because every goodbye is equivalent to another hello because day 5 is coming up. So mga ka-spacers, alam nyo na. Stay tuned lang po because we will be your companion for the next 13 astronomical days. Once again, I am Hannah Marie Francine Tan.
And I am Brant Nathan Lasseter Lorca. And we are your Ka-Spacer tandem for tonight, saying, Live long and prosper.
mga ka-spacers. So sana nag-enjoy po kayo dun sa video na yan about the art of space traveling. So yun palang ibig sabihin no, the art of space traveling. Alright, so again mga ka-spacers, if you have any comments or reactions in that last video, please feel free to type in your comments or your reactions in our comment section below. And kung gusto niyo po magpa-shoutout, just type in your name and your location para alam namin po kung saan nakakaabot itong ating live stream ngayong gabi. So again po, in behalf of the officers and crew, binabati po namin kayo na Merry Christmas mga ka-spacers. Alright, so in our next video, we will be featuring events in astronomy and space science that is connected to Christmas. So ano kaya yung mga yun? Alright, so let's listen now to this Christmas greeting and let's watch this video. Alright mga ka-spacers, let's watch this!
Merry Christmas, BSYers! Cheers to more asterific future endeavors with you, and may you enjoy this year's holidays, especially in celebrating it with your loved ones. Of course, always remember to keep reaching for the stars.
Good evening and Merry Christmas mga ka-spacers. I am Shiva Cruz.
And I am Yves Quiñones.
And we are your host for the 5th day, entitled Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas in Space in the 13 days of Astrorific Christmas. It seems like it's getting colder as we are getting closer to Christmas, and we want to share a couple of facts on astronomers in space during the preparation and celebration of Christmas.
The Apollo 8 crew, which included Commander Frank Borman, Commander Module Pilot Jim Lovell, and Lunar Module Pilot William Anders, orbited the Moon for the first time on Christmas Eve 1968. The crew left Earth on Christmas Eve and entered lunar orbit on December 21st. The crew beamed Christmas greetings, live photos back to Earth, and a reading for the book of Genesis to commemorate the event.
Over the next several decades, the concept of space, Christmas, intersected with terrestrial celebrations regularly. The Skylab 4 crew who did so in 1973 was the next crew who spent their holidays in space. Gerald Carr, William Pooch, and Edward Gibson came up with making a Christmas tree out of fruit cakes and patented it. Carr and Pooch completed the space mission ever recorded outside of the Earth's orbit on Christmas Day, lasting 7 hours and 1 minute. When John Blaha was aboard Russia's Mir space station in 1996, Blaha and the crew received a package from the Progress spacecraft, which contained gifts, cards, and food. When they opened the packages though, he said that it was like Christmas and birthdays rolled together when you are a 5-year-old. In the vastness of space, what could become routine to Earth-bound observers took a new and special meaning.
Christmas on the International Space Station is a documentary about International Space Station's Christmas celebration. The International Space Station crew, their families, and the ground crew all celebrate Christmas every year. Crew members are given time off work based on their nationality, religion, and culture. Because of the Russian Orthodox Church follows the Julian calendar, and the Catholic Church and different Protestant denominations follow the Gregorian calendar. The crew can celebrate Christmas on the station multiple times, choosing between December 25th, January 6th, 7th, or 19th.
Arrived on the ISS on the 2nd of November in the year 2000, celebrating their first Christmas on board the station later that year. Other celebrations included Expedition 30 with the arrival of Donald Pettit, Oleg Kononenko, and Andrei Kupets. The station has been continuously occupied since the year 2000, so every Christmas has been a new experience by every crew. The holiday is popular enough that one of the traditions that has developed is having a Christmas dinner. The crew celebrated Christmas by floating in microgravity and opening Christmas presents recently delivered on a Japanese cargo spacecraft. One astronaut wore a space hat, or a space Santa hat, if you get it, in orbit. The French astronaut Thomas Pesquet shared special French food with the Stallion crew. Pesquet also made a Christmas time special video for the ESA, or the European Space Agency.
On the 25th of December 2011, the crew of Expedition 30 took a break on Christmas to take a crew photo. This included Dan Bergbank, Oleg Konenko, Don Petit, Anatoly Ivanishev, Henry Coopers, and Anton Kaplerov. On 24 December 2013, astronauts made a rare Christmas Eve extravehicular activity, installing a new ammonia pump for the station's cooling system. The faulty cooling system had failed earlier in the month, halting many of the station's science experiments. Astronauts had to brave a mini blizzard of nauseous ammonia while installing the new pump. It was only the second Christmas Eve spacewalk in NASA history.
Since the days of the Apollo missions, when the Apollo 8 crew famously shared their Christmas Eve message in a live television broadcast in 1968, through taking turns reading from the book of Genesis in the Bible, astronauts have criticized the tradition of celebrating holidays in space. It is up to each crew to mark and celebrate these holidays, and space veterans often share suggestions and ideas with rookies before they go up. In the year 2020 though, it will also be how families and friends connect as they socially distance themselves to stay safe. This is the practice which astronauts do every time they go to space. So this is, now that there's the pandemic, we ourselves are doing that training. While astronauts can send emails, hold video conferences, and make phone calls, they have little more time to connect with the family during holidays. The key to enjoying this holiday session though, which is according to the astronauts, is to celebrate in the same way they do in space. Which is with planning, intention, and thoughtfulness.
Christmas will be celebrated in an unusual way for astronauts aboard the International Space Station. On December 25th, 2017, they will be floating weightlessly 250 miles above the Earth. Joe Acaba, Mark Van de Hey, and Scott Tingle were among the astronauts who celebrated Christmas on the International Space Station. According to NASA spokeswoman Dan Huot, some people may wonder if they can work and examine the heavenly bodies at the same time during the holidays. No, they will spend the day with their families and open the gifts they received rather than doing science or research.
So, how do astronauts celebrate Christmas? The astronauts get Christmas dinner, which it's impossible to prepare a full roast meal in the ISS. But either way, astronauts will get an approximation of a Christmas dinner. For Christmas in the year 2018, the crew members got a meal of smoked turkey, candied yams, corn green beans, mac and cheese, and potatoes au gratin. Where do astronauts celebrate Christmas? Well, they celebrate Christmas in the ISS or the International Space Station, which these are often astronauts that celebrate Christmas there. And this year is not really an exception. Despite being posted to a cramped space station, they still manage to celebrate Christmas with most of their traditional trappings. If they're lucky, they might get the day off as well. So now, who was the first person or the first astronaut to celebrate Christmas in space? And that person is Michael Foer, who spent his first two holidays in space with the STS-100. The first shuttle mission to fly during the holiday, the crew was awakened to the sounds of Bing Crosby's "I'll Be Home for Christmas" on Christmas Day.
It was only the second Christmas Eve spacewalk in NASA history. On 25th December 2016, the crew celebrated Christmas by floating in microgravity and opening Christmas presents recently delivered on a Japanese cargo spacecraft. One astronaut wore a Santa hat in orbit.
So there might be a few questions going into your mind, so I'll be answering a few of them. So the first question might be, there are three questions that me and the researchers and the PPT makers, basically the group, asked. So one question is that asked. In the making of this day, or in the preparation for this day, the writer, the researchers, the PPT makers, the format makers, and the caption makers, and all of that, had a few questions in mind. So with that, they had to put these intensive research. So credits to them. So one of the questions is that what goes into managing the space station's food systems? Well, the answer to that is that they have their own food lab on site, which it's located in Houston, which serves as the prime. So the first question is, what goes into managing the space station's food system? Well, the answer to that is that they have a food lab on site, which that site is on Houston, which it serves as the primary provisioning lab for all space station foods, where they do a lot of freeze frying. They also have a facility in Texas that processes canned foods, not metal cans, but rather they put them in pouches, which they are a more flexible type of cans. The military also developed the resort pouch, which many years ago to replace metal cans because it is lighter in weight and more efficient to stow. The second question is that, do you take requests from the astronauts for the holidays or just in general? The answer to that is that they do. For every month that the crew member is in orbit, they get what's called a bonus container, and they can make special requests. If they have a special type of candy, a cracker, or cookie that they want to take, but they also have their standard menu, which includes a lot of the traditional holiday meals. Like, for example, the standard meal that I mentioned a while ago is what they have as a part of their holiday menu. And if they know they're going to be in orbit at Christmas time, they can take related things in a bonus box. And there might be a crew care package from families too. Things like a certain kind of nut or hard candy that may be a part of their traditions while they're on Earth.
On the ISS, food is delivered refrigerated or dehydrated once every 90 days, which can be cooked in microwaves or convection ovens. Different nations aboard the ISS provide their traditional courses and snacks, helping the crew to share their culture while having a taste of home.
Some notable events regarding the astronauts' space celebrations of Christmas in space. Well, they had many different types. They all had their own ways on how they celebrated Christmas or their holidays in space. But way back in December 1968, wherein the Apollo 8 astronauts, they had a blast celebrating there, which they were the first one to actually celebrate Christmas in space and while circling the moon, in fact. Aside from that, William A. Anders, Frank Borman, and James A. Lovelace broadcast the moon gliding and even took turns reading the opening verses of the book Genesis. On the other hand, the Skylab for astronauts, who consist of Edward G. Gibson, William R. Pooch, and Gerald P. Carr, otherwise known as the first crew to celebrate Thanksgiving and New Year's in the orbit. They spent their Christmas by crafting their own made Christmas tree, which was made out of used containers and cardboard shaped like a comet on top of the tree. And their Christmas was very merry indeed for the crew, despite the fact that they wouldn't be able to spend it with their families, their lovers, and a lot more. And that they had the chance to talk to them, open presents for each other, and they even had a delicious fruitcake. Who doesn't want to have fruitcake in space? Which, who knows how good it is, actually. Even I'm curious. Either way, continuing on. Also, Christmas won't be considered merry if you aren't celebrating Christmas with friends, families. If you're celebrating it alone, it wouldn't be merry. So, for those that are alone right now, try to find someone to spend it with, because it will make your Christmas a lot brighter. Hence, Biotsar I. Klimuk and Valentin Lebedev, the Soviet cosmonauts, joined them in celebrations of Christmas, making it the first ever meeting of the astronauts and the cosmonauts in space as a group.
On to the next 3 questions. Is there anything that they can't have even on Christmas? Well, they can't have anything that requires refrigeration. There's no way to refrigerate on the trip up, and then on station, there's no dedicated refrigerators for food. Although they do have a small chiller now for beverages, cool after preparing. They only have warm water and hot water otherwise. For the other question, do tastes differ in space? We have a lot of anecdotal evidence from astronauts that their taste buds are affected in microgravity. It's very probably related to the fact that when they are in microgravity, their abilities to smell the food is compromised. Think about when you're on the ground and you have a cold and your nose is stopped up. The food tastes different. When they first go into orbit, the fluid shifts, makes them very congested, and that interferes with smell. For the next question, I imagine it's hard for astronauts to be away from family on the holidays. Is there any upside to spending holidays in space? The answer to that is the great thing about being on station is that you can celebrate Christmas twice because the Russians celebrate Orthodox Christmas in January. They get the day off, so typically they will have a plan, a special meal, pull out some of the special foods. In talking to some crew members, they say the socializing and the meal is a big part of holiday, just like on the ground.
Well, as long as we remember, astronauts have made a tradition to celebrate holidays in space and for them to experience the holidays without their families. NASA astronaut Kate Rubins, Michael Hopkins, Victor Glover Jr., and Shannon Walker are among the international crew. As are Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency astronauts Soichi Naguchi and Russia cosmonauts Sergei Kuzovkov and Sergei Ryzhikov. They spend their Christmas in space by sharing a meal together and also call their families and friends to greet them a Merry Christmas. NASA astronaut Dr. Andrew Morgan said that he spent the entire holiday season of 2019 on the space station with his crewmates as they played some games and played Christmas music and watched classic holiday movies. And these astronauts are the ones from the Skylab for space mission, who consist of Edward G. Gibson, William G. Pooch, and Gerald P. Carr. Or they are mostly known as the first people to actually, or the first crew to actually celebrate Thanksgiving and New Year's in space. They spent Christmas by singing Christmas songs.
Commander Frank Borman, Commander Module Pilot Jim Lovell, and Lunar Module Pilot William Anders became the first astronauts to orbit the moon on Christmas Eve, and the first to celebrate Christmas in space. To commemorate the occasion, they sent Christmas wishes and photographs back to their home. It was believed that 1 billion people watched or listened to the program. In 1973, the Skylab astronauts were the first to celebrate Christmas in space. To add a touch of the holiday season of the Skylab, they built a Christmas tree out of cans.
And so that's about it, everyone. So thank you all for watching, and we hope that you'll have a great evening and a great vacation for those that are students. And once again, Merry Christmas to everyone. I'm Shiva.
And I'm Yves Quinones.
And we'll see you all next time.
Alright mga ka-spacers, so isn't that fascinating about historic events in astronomy that is connected to Christmas? Alright, so if you have any comments or reactions, or if you think you have learned a lot about that last video, please feel free to type in your comments or reactions in our comment section below. And if you are enjoying our Christmas presentation, please give us a heart react or a thumbs up. Alright, so in our next video, we will be featuring the brightest stars and constellation during the Christmas season. So isn't that interesting mga ka-spacers? Alright, let's watch this mga ka-spacers.
Hi, this is Rachel Main A. Razo, wishing all of our ka-spacers out there a season's greeting and a very happy, merry, and bright holiday with your loved ones.
Isa na namang magandang gabi, everyone. I am JK Furing.
And I am Hannah Maria Franstan, your hosts for this evening.
Now, Hannah, bakit nga ba tayo nandito?
Well, aside from the fact that Comet Leonard continues to show itself to Earth, specifically on December 17 where it appears directly below the planet, we are here to give very interesting facts about our December night sky.
Iba din, something to look forward to.
Syempre, definitely. Now that the most beautiful time of the year has arrived, listen as we all anticipate the ever-changing array of exciting objects to behold. Stars, constellations, planets, moon, and exceptional phenomenon like meteor showers.
Wow! We are not yet even starting, but I am getting really excited. But before that, may tanong muna ako for our listeners. Although we do not experience it, it is said that night skies are the most clear on cold winter nights. Why do you think so?
Nako, pwede ba akong sumagot? Mukhang alam ko to.
Of course.
This is only one of the reasons, but warm air has a lot of moisture, right? This moisture in the air causes the sky to appear foggy or hazy. While for cold air, it does not hold a lot of moisture, so wala masyadong nakaharang sa view natin every night sky.
Very good, Hannah. December is surely filled with breathtaking stars and constellations. So lovely that we won't get tired of staring at them.
JK, paano ba yan? Simulan ko na ha? First on our list are the stars and constellations that are quite difficult to spot all throughout the year but glow its brightest for this month. I am sure most of us are familiar with Polaris, or what they call the North Star. It is not a particularly bright star. However, it does remain stationary in the sky all night and all year. When you look at the North Star, you are looking due north. Polaris is located at the tip of the Little Dipper's handle. Ursa Minor, the Little Bear, is the official name for this constellation. For the constellations Aries, Eridanus, Fornax, Horologium, Perseus, and Triangulum are the greatest group of stars to observe in December. Another trivia, the celestial sphere, the Earth-like sphere used to locate celestial bodies, is divided into two, Northern Hemisphere and Southern Hemisphere. On the Northern Hemisphere are the northern constellations include Perseus, Triangulum, and Aries, while on the south are the southern constellations include Eridanus, Fornax, and Horologium that you can easily spot for this month.
Another set of constellations that are ideal to look for are the Triangulum Galaxy or M33, the Alpha Persei cluster, the Little Dumbbell Nebula or M76, the Double Cluster or NGC 869 and NGC 884, the California Nebula or NGC 4099, and the Fornax cluster of galaxy or the second richest galaxy cluster within 100 million light years. Truly, the month of December is ideal for viewing numerous well-known deep sky objects situated in these constellations. A little tip, find a dark area away from city lights on a clear night since intense outside lighting can make it difficult to view them. Give your eyes time to acclimate to the darkness as you look for even more heavenly vistas. Begin by looking at the fainter stars of the constellations of the season. This allows you to truly see and appreciate the beauty of the night during this wonderful time of the year.
Wow naman! Ngayon naman susunod natin ay the Star of Bethlehem.
Alam ko to, very ancient ang star na ito, dated even before Jesus Christ was born. This Christmas star appeared in the story of the Nativity of Jesus as it led the Magi to Bethlehem. You can see the Star of Bethlehem every December 21st, and you may see it when you look above the southwestern or western horizon after sunset.
Tama, JK! And very controversial ang star na ito.
Many are still asking if this Christmas star indeed exists, if it is really a star, a comet, or alignment of planets. Although it is vague, science has ruled out that this certainly is not a meteor if it guided the Maggie to their destination for weeks.
It is also possible that it is a supernova or the explosive death of a star, but unlikely since researchers haven't found any recorded supernova event that is similar to when the Star of Bethlehem appeared.
That's true. It can also be a comet, although comets were usually perceived as a bad omen beforehand, making it impossible for the wise men to interpret it as their guide to Jesus.
Many are also saying that this Christmas star is the conjunction of planets. Hana, naalala mo pa ba yung the great conjunction ng Jupiter and Saturn? Probably that this said star is the result of two planets coming close to each other on Earth's sky.
Well, astronomers may not have the answer currently. Is the Star of Bethlehem real or simply a biblical story that we used to enjoy and continue to enjoy, especially during this month? But what we do know is that our sky is filled with glinting celestial bodies. Tingin ka lang sa taas. Let us follow the tips JK gave to us a while ago as we search for our favorite stars.
Speaking of stars, did you know that on exactly December 25, Sirius, the brightest star in the sky, becomes even more radiant as it reaches its highest point shortly after midnight. So don't forget to look up as we enjoy our Noche Buena.
Sige, hindi ko kakalimutan yan at paniguradong hahanapin ko si Sirius. Last but not the least are the planets. Not only stars, constellations, and meteors ang pag-uusapan natin, but also visible planets for December. Last December 4, Venus shines at magnitude -4.9. Kita mo ba yun? Easily piercing the bright twilight sky, making it the first planet to appear after sunset. It continues to show itself as it approaches Saturn on December 16. Shortly following Venus, Jupiter enters Capricornus in December on the east of Saturn. It shines at magnitude -2.3.
Nice! Matingnan nga mamaya ang mga planets na yan. Well, that's it folks.
I hope you have listed and planned your calendars for your December night sky viewing.
Malamig na ang simoy ng hangin. Perfect kapag gustong mag-emote habang iniisip kung totoo nga ba ang star ng Bethlehem.
Naku, mahabang research ang kailangan gawin kung sakali.
Kidding aside, we would like to express our gratitude for listening to us tonight. I am JK Faring.
And I am Hannah Marie Franstan saying live long and prosper.
Officially signing off. Good night.
Alright mga ka-spacers, so that's our December night sky. Alright, so if you have any comments or reactions about that last video, please feel free to type in your comments or reactions in our comment section below. Ayan po, yan ang ating December night sky. So sana nag-enjoy po kayo dun sa last video na yan. And again, Merry Christmas mga ka-spacers. Alright, in our next video and Christmas greeting, we will be focusing on astronomy and myths. Ayan po, very interesting to. So tutok lang po kayo mga ka-spacers. Alright, let's watch this!
I am Adriel Agbayani, the auditor of the BEDAN Society of Young Astronomers, greeting you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays. May peace, love, and joy be yours this holiday season and all year long.
The universe is made up of millions of tiny stories. Even before the development of technology and the internet, humans have relied on the natural environment to make forecasts about the future and influence their life choices. This means that thousands of years ago, people were paying attention to nature and scanning the skies for hints.
Many astronomical myths have been around for thousands of years now, and up to this modern day. There are myths inspired by pagan practices and other ancient religions, from origins of comets to superstitions about the stars, from myths debunked by science to the existence of aliens. The universe indeed has no limits.
As Carl Sagan stated, we are a way for the cosmos to know itself. And with that, a star-rific day, our young astronomers. I am Andre, and together with me are Jacob, Alexa, and Hannah. We are from the BEDAN Society of Young Astronomers, and we will be sharing with you 12 common astronomical myths and superstitions about outer space.
It was believed that the stars were gods or other supernatural beings. Therefore, there is a myth that pointing at the stars is like pointing at a god, which could anger them because it was rude to point. Doing this could bring unwanted attention, bad luck, and even death.
Up next is myth number 2, the origin of comets. There were a lot of superstitions surrounding comets in the past because no one knew what they were or where they came from. Some believed that they were fireballs that would be sent by demons or gods to destroy the earth. Some thought that comets brought bad luck or that if a comet appeared, a king would die.
In some cultures, shooting stars are said to present souls being freed from purgatory will be making their way to heaven. Simply by spotting these fallen stars will bring good fortune to you. However, there is also superstitions wherein the type of luck you'll get is based on where the star is positioned. For example, if you see fallen stars on your right, it signifies you'll have good luck, while on the left suggests you'll have a bad luck.
Myth number 4. The Great Conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter, which occurs every 20 years, has been regarded as a sign of good fortune.
Given the magic associated with shooting stars, it's no surprise that there's more than one superstition linked to them. While many cultures suggest that gazing upon these stars brings good luck, some believe you can use shooting stars for more precise purposes. Myth number 5 is probably one of the most unknown myths. The first star that shines in the night sky each evening possesses a special magic, and setting your gaze on the first star that appears after dark and making a wish is enough to win your heart's desire. Worried about your empty wallet? Park yourself outside on a starry night and wait for a fallen star. If you say the word money 3 times before the star burns out, you'll soon be on your way out of poverty. Struggling with acne? Hold a rag or cloth over your blemishes as a shooting star streaks through the sky to get rid of pimples.
Myth number 6. Though the asteroid belt has always been regarded in movies as this very crowded place with absolutely no space to move, astronomers have estimated the distance between the asteroids and the main belt is about 600,000 miles from each other. For comparison, that is 2.5 times the distance between the moon and our Earth.
Observing how the stars are positioned in relation to rings around the moon can help you determine or predict the weather. A ring around the width of a single star situated inside means clear weather ahead.
Myth number 8. Make it count. Counting the stars has always been considered a surefire way to bring bad luck. If you count the stars up to 100, you will die.
It was a myth that the Great Wall of China is the only man-made structure visible from space. However, Many other man-made structures can be seen from the International Space Station, 250 miles above the Earth. It primarily just depends on your position.
Myth number 10. Summer is warm because the Earth is closer to the Sun. The Earth is not closer to the Sun when it is summer in the Northern Hemisphere. It's actually the opposite. The truth is, Earth is at its farthest point from the Sun during summer, not the other way around. Because of the tilt of Earth, it becomes warmer in the summer. Earth's tilt permits the Sun's radiation to hit us more directly during its orbit.
Myth number 11. Existence of aliens. It is believed that Enrico Fermi developed the Fermi paradox about the existence of aliens. The physicist Enrico Fermi once famously asked, "Where is everybody?" after seeing a cartoon featuring a flying saucer in 1950. Many people believe Fermi's question, now known as the Fermi paradox, was about the existence of aliens. If other intelligent life exists, the logic goes, why haven't we found any proof of it? The Fermi paradox as we know it does question alien existence, but it's not named after the people who advanced this concept. That honor belongs to the astronomer Michael Hart and the physicist Frank Tipler, who refined the idea in the 1970s and 1980s.
Light years do not measure time as they actually measure distance. It defines by the NASA as the total of the distance that beam of the light moving in the straight lines travels in 1 year.
And that concludes our presentation for today, and we hope that you have learned a thing or two. See you on our next journey beyond the stars. Thank you for listening and have a good night.
Alright mga ka-spacers, so that's really an interesting video about astronomy and myths. Pati existence ng aliens, so naging myth na rin. Alright, so I hope you have enjoyed and learned a lot about that last video. So if you have any comments or reactions, please feel free mga ka-spacers to type in your comments or reactions in our comment section below. And in our next video mga ka-spacers, we will be featuring astronomy and religion. Nako, very interesting ito. So tutok lang kayo mga ka-spacers and join us as we celebrate Christmas through our video presentations. Alright mga ka-spacers, let's watch this!
To all BSYA, I wish you all a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Always keep reaching for the stars, and I wish you all good health. May all of your dreams and goals come true, and thank you for being part of my 2021. This is Mary Juliana Villanueva, the Secretary of BSYA. Thank you!
Greetings mga ka-spacers! We are now on to the 8th day of BSYA's 13 Days Till Christmas. Today's topic is reverence for the heavens, intersections of religion and astronomy. I am Samantha Asisio, your ka-spacer for today, along with our fellow ka-spacers. Let us launch off with astronomy and ancient religion that will be introduced to us by Micaela.
Good day, ka-spacers. Did you know that during the early history of astronomy, this was already associated with religion? It started when ancient civilization began to observe the behavior of the sun, moon, and several other planets and constellations. And then these cosmic bodies started to be defined and attributed with great powers in many cultures, including Egypt, Babylon, Britain, and Mesoamerica. They began to use their observable behavior to validate their actions and receive guidance through omens. Isn't that fascinating? Let me call on our spacer, Sam, to tell us more about astronomy and ancient religion.
The sun was the god Ra, worshipped in Egypt, whereas Orion, the constellation, was attributed to Osiris, the god of the afterlife. And Sirius, the constellation, was attributed to the goddess Isis. Planetary worship was also practiced in Babylon, where the pantheons include Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, the Sun, Venus, Mercury, and the Moon. The Sun and Moon were the major gods of the people who lived in the Salisbury Plain of England, as attested by the spectacular Stonehenge monument. Furthermore, special ceremonies indicated that the Sun and the Moon were also main gods for tribes in Africa. However, the Nhas of Nigeria thought that the Moon was the gentle moderating force which must be worshipped, while the Tamalba of Togo believed that the Sun is the creator and the creator must approach him first. There is some evidence that the Moon was also worshipped as part of one's ancestors in Africa, as the cause of death has always been attributed to the waxing and waning of the Moon. For the Mayans in Mesoamerica, the Sun was a major god and Venus was the patron planet for warfare. Different rulers took on different patron gods like the planet Jupiter. Thus, the objects seen in the skies constituted the gods for several ancient cultures all over the world, as their desire to worship and be guided by these gods would manifest itself in every aspect of their lives. Now let us move on to religion and astronomy to be introduced to us by JK.
Welcome, Spacers. Did you know that the galaxy's hundreds of billions of stars are so far apart that traveling at the speed of light would take a spaceship 100,000 years to cover the distance? Isn't it that fascinating? Another interesting fact is the existence of black holes. A black hole is a point of infinite density with gravity so complete that not even light can escape it. It may be unheard of to some of you, but there's a massive black hole that revolves around the galaxy's starry wheel. I mean, it's no surprise then that contemplating the cosmos may elicit the same feelings of awe and reverence as religious awe and reverence. This is not always a positive experience. According to Father Paul Pavel Gabor, an astronomer for the Vatican Observatory, when people are confronted with the vast astronomical proportions of the heavens, some may tend to experience fear and trembling in the same way they do when they contemplate concepts like God and heaven.
But fear none. We're here to help you conquer your fear of the vast and unknown. A way to help combat this despair, according to Gabor, is to believe in a higher power, a God that has created the universe as a gesture of love. Faith tells us that the universe is not something to intimidate, rather, it is something given to us as a gift by someone who wants to give us something nice, something pretty. So when we look at those astronomy pictures, we may either feel that the glass of knowledge is only half full and believe that we are being given a gift that we can use with responsibility and a lot of potentials, or we can also feel that the glass is half empty and that might just be frightening.
Here's a fun fact. The term cosmos means ordered world, and humans have believed that God created the ordered universe out of chaos for most of recorded history. A majority of people around the world still believes this, but aspects of that faith have evolved as our scientific understanding of the cosmos have grown. For example, Gabor's colleague, Vatican astronomer brother Guy Consolmajo, claims that while many people believe God created the universe, they believe its vastness prevents God from taking any personal interest in us. The speck of dust we call planet Earth is insignificant in comparison to the tiniest of stars, and each of our lives is only a fraction of a second in the grand scheme of things. Isn't that fascinating, mga ka-spacers? To add to this, let us call on our ka-spacer, Micaela.
Even the known Pope Benedict said that mathematics is one way to gain a better understanding of the universe in a different talk given at a different time. Quote-unquote, Galileo was convinced that God had given us two books, the book of sacred scripture and the book of nature, and that the language of nature, according to Galileo's conviction, was mathematics, so it is the language of God, a language of the Creator. The surprising thing is that this invention of our human intellect is truly key to understanding nature, that nature is truly structured in a mathematical way, and that our mathematics, invented by our human mind, is truly the instrument of God, the instrument of the Creator. Lastly, some people wonder if mathematics was invented by man to describe nature, or if we discovered the mathematical properties that were built into nature by a higher power, according to Consul Magno. In the end, it's a little bit of both.
On April 12, 1633, Pope Urban VIII appoints Father Vincenzo Macolani da Fiorenzuola as Chief Inquisitor, and the Inquisition of physicist and astronomer Galileo Galilei begins. Galileo was ordered to surrender to the Holy Office and stand trial for his belief that the Earth revolves around the Sun, which the Catholic Church considered heretical. During the trial, the accused was required to be imprisoned and secluded according to standard procedure.
Galileo was in hot water for the second time for refusing to accept church orthodoxy, that the Earth was the immovable center of the universe. He had been barred from holding or defending his beliefs in 1660. Galileo denied that he held belief in the Copernican view during his interrogation in 1633. But he continued to write about the issue and evidence as a means of discussion rather than belief. Despite the fact that scientists had known for centuries that the Earth was not the center of the universe, the Church decided that the idea that the Sun moved around the Earth was an absolute fact of Scripture that could not be disputed.
In the end, Galileo agreed not to teach the heresy anymore and spent the rest of his life under house arrest. It took more than 300 years for the Church to admit that Galileo was right and to clear his name of heresy. In 1992, Pope John Paul II lifted Galileo's excommunication when it became common knowledge that the Earth was not the center of the universe.
And that will be all for Day 8 of BSYA's 13 Days Till Christmas. Once more, I am John Calfuring.
I am Sam Asistio.
And this has been Mikael Antasikin signing off,
saying live long and prosper.
Wow mga ka-spacers, so that's really interesting about astronomy and religion. Ako nga, marami ako natutunan dyan. Alright, so if you felt the same thing, kung marami po kayong natutunan about that last video, please feel free to type in your comments or reactions in our comment section below. And we would like to hear from you, mga ka-spacers. Kung gusto nyo magpabati po ng Merry Christmas sa inyong mga kaibigan or yung mga relatives and loved ones, just type in your Christmas greetings in our comment section below. Alright, in our next video, we will be featuring astronomy facts that are out of this world, mga ka-spacers. Alright, huwag na tayo magpatumpik-tumpik pa. Tutok lang kayo mga ka-spacers. And let's watch this!
Day 9. Astronomy facts that are out of this world. Have you ever wondered if there are different things or facts that actually exist, but people do not know about? If so, do you want to know some astronomy facts that are out of this world? Then, let us tackle that. Good day everyone. I am Justine Maybe Endaza from 11th STEM 4.
And I am Trisha May M. Ramos from 11th STEM 4. Join us as we explore different facts that will surely excite all of us. To start this, did you know that the planet with the hottest surface temperature is not Mercury, but Venus? It is because of the greenhouse effect on its atmosphere. Addition to this, another solar system fact is that you could fit all of the planets between Earth and the Moon. To give you a little context, the average distance between the Earth and the Moon is 238,555 miles or 384,400 kilometers.
Wow, that is fascinating. Since we are already on the topic of Earth science, let's continue to drop more trivias and facts. Brace yourselves because we're about to blow your minds. Firstly, Mercury is the fastest planet in the solar system, with a speed of 47 kilometers per second around the Sun. Since Mercury is the fastest planet and has the shortest distance to travel around the Sun, it has the shortest year of all the planets in our solar system, which is 88 days. Could you imagine 88 days a year? Moving on. The distance between Earth and the asteroid 1566 Icarus is currently 228,187,730 kilometers or 1.53 units. From asteroid 1566 Icarus to us, light travels for 12 minutes and 41.16 seconds. With that in mind, for objects passing extremely close to Earth, the stated distance number may be slightly erroneous around the time of closest approach. In the live position and data tracker, the distance of 1566 Icarus from Earth is also given as a real-time update number. Asteroid 1566 Icarus makes its closest approach to Earth.
The Boomerang Nebula, the coldest object ever discovered, is the coldest spot in the universe. It is in the constellation Centaurus, about 5,000 light-years from Earth. The Boomerang Nebula is a young planetary nebula with a fading red giant star at its center, consisting of reflecting cloud of dust and ionized gases. It was once a star similar to our Sun, and it has been shedding its outer layers as expected as it nears the end of its existence. However, it has been discovered that it is losing mass at a rate of 100 times quicker than other fading stars. Moreover, it is staggering 100 billion times the speed of the Sun. According to NASA, this has resulted in the core star losing approximately 1.5 times the mass of our Sun over the last 1,500 years. And since the gases are being ejected so quickly, at a speed of 100 miles per second or 164 kilometers per second, a lot of heat energy is being ejected as well. Take it away, Justin.
Another fact about this protoplanetary nebula, its deep inner temperature is jaw-dropping, negative 458 degrees Fahrenheit or negative 272 degrees Celsius, which means the Boomerang Nebula is only a degree Celsius above absolute zero. According to The Independent, this is over 3 times colder than the temperature recorded throughout Dome Fuji, Antarctica in 2010, which was a bone-chilling negative 199.8 degrees Fahrenheit or negative 93.2 degrees Celsius. If there is the coldest object in the universe, there is also the hottest star in our solar system, no other than the Sun. Our Sun is one of over 100 billion stars in the Milky Way galaxy, and the Milky Way is one of over 100 million galaxies in the universe. Furthermore, the Sun's core releases energy equivalent to 100 billion nuclear bombs per second, and that energy travels thousands of years through its layers before it is emitted as heat and light to power the solar system.
Indeed, the Sun is literally a star. Moving back to the planets on our solar system, did you know that Venus spins backward on its axis compared to all the other planets in our solar system? Venus and Uranus are the only planets that spin and spinning counter to the rotation of the Sun, also referred to as retrograde rotation. On the other hand, the planet Saturn would float on water. It's the only planet in our solar system that would, since it is made up of mostly hydrogen and helium, which are gases and is less dense than water. This planet can float on water. As for the famous Pluto, this dwarf planet is smaller than the United States. To be precise, Pluto is just approximately only as wide as the United States.
Leaving you with the last two facts, the International Space Station completes an orbit of Earth in approximately 90 minutes. The station travels from west to east on an orbital inclination of 51.6 degrees. Each orbit takes 90 to 93 minutes, depending on the exact altitude of the ISS. Are you aware that it takes 1 billion seconds for the light from a star 31.7 light years away to reach Earth? In short, it takes sunlight an average of 8 minutes and 20 seconds to travel from the Sun to the Earth. Cajigal states that if the Sun suddenly disappeared from the universe, not that this could actually happen, don't panic, it would take a little more than 8 minutes before you realized it was time to put on a sweater. Fascinating, isn't it?
This ends our segment titled Astronomy Facts That Are Out of This World for Day 9. We hope you learned a lot more about the world, the universe rather, through our discussion. On behalf of all the BSYA officers and members, we wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Together, let's reach for the stars. Again, I am Trisha May M. Ramos.
And I am Justine May B. Mendoza, saying, live long and prosper.
Alright mga ka-spacers, really that last video was out of this world, don't you think? Alright, so if you have any comments or reactions in that last video, please feel free to type in your comments or reactions in our comment section below. And again, Merry Christmas mga ka-spacers natin out there. Alright, so in our next video, we will be focusing on trailblazing women in astronomy. Alright, so mga ka-spacers, tutok lang kayo dito sa ating Christmas presentation of the BEDAN Society of Young Astronomers. Alright, let's watch this.
The great Annie Jump Cannon once said that a life spent in the routine of science need not destroy the attractive human element of a woman's nature.
And Mary Proctor said that when we gaze at the starlit heavens and admire the silvery radiance of the Milky Way, we would faint believe that there's an absolute silence and rest, a perfect haven of ripples. Good day!
And Merry Christmas, mga ka-spacers! Hanatan, your Santa for tonight, telling you not to be shy and express yourself in a way that you are satisfied.
And my name is Shiva Cruz. Your reindeer, Rudolph, telling you to fly high, aim high, and find the star that's meant for you.
And we are your hosts for Day 10, entitled The Trailblazing Woman in Astronomy.
So, Hannah, who's your favorite female astronomer?
Clue, Matthew. Think of a chocolate bar. You get what I mean? Herschel, Hershey. Corny. Okay, going back, the first lady we will meet today is Caroline Herschel. She was born in Germany on March 16, 1750 and died January 9, 1848. She was one of the 10 children of Anne Isle Moritzen and Isaac Herschel. Her brother's hobby was astronomy and devoted most of his free time making telescopes. As his brother decided to quit being a musician, Caroline then assisted him and chose to divert her attention in the field of astronomy as they teamed up together. She did only take part of an amanuensis, which are the ones who copy the manuscript, but she frequently performed some complicated equations that were used for the observatories. Her astronomical career started when she became his brother's apprentice until she started to do things on her own. Now, following the contributions made by Caroline in the field of astronomy, she helped her brother develop the modern mathematical approach to astronomy. Caroline is also the first woman that was credited with discovering a comet along with us. Few of her famous discoveries were the open cluster NGC 2360, Andromeda Galaxy's companion nebula NGC 205, and a comet.
Professional woman in the United States, and her name is Maria Mitchell. She was born on August 1st in the year 1818 in Nantucket, Massachusetts, and joined the stars on June 28, 1889. She was the third of 10 children of William and Lydia Mitchell. Her involvement in astronomy began actually during her childhood, where she was influenced by her father. At a young age, she had helped her father calculate the exact position of their house. Mary Mitchell then attended a school conducted by her father and later on completed her education at the age of 16. For 20 long years, she worked as a librarian and then later resigned to focus on traveling and studying astronomy. But on October 1st, 1847, she discovered a comet using a 2-inch telescope that would be named later on Miss Mitchell's Comet. She traveled all throughout Europe and met different astronomers. She also became involved in the anti-slavery and suffrage movement, which back in the old ages, it was a very, very, very common practice, especially in the United States and in Europe. Then in the year 1865, she was then recruited by the founder of the Vassar College to be an astronomy professor, which she taught her students and often published journals where men were only featured. She then retired in the year 1888, but further continued her research in Massachusetts, where her sister lived. Then, the astronomers honored her by naming the lunar crater after her.
Now, let's meet the woman of astronomy that I quoted earlier. She is known as the census taker of the sky. Mga ka-spacers, let us meet Annie Jumpcana. She was born on December 11, 1863 in Delaware, U.S. and passed away on April 13, year 1941. She was the eldest daughter of her parents, Wilson and Mary Elizabeth. She suffered from hearing loss at a young age, but she was inspired by her mom to pursue science. Annie began her career as one of the few dozen mathematicians who would catalog and classify various stars. She was known for her speed at classifying the stars, and she was credited with classifying 5,000 stars per month for 4 years. Can you believe? She was the first woman to receive a Doctor of Astronomy degree from Groningen University. She is also dedicated to fighting for women's rights and was a member of the National Women's Party. She worked in the observatory up until her death in the year 1940. Now, with her contributions, Annie developed the Harvard Catalog of Variable Stars. She classified about 350,000 stars manually.
manually, take note, and discovered about 300 variable stars and 5 novae.
After the great late Annie Jump Cannon, Henrietta Swan Leavitt, who was born on July 4, 1868 on Lancaster, Massachusetts, she was quiet and serious person, but yet again, she dedicated her work despite being very religious and being prone to her own health. Later on, in 1908, she published a paper on the subject, 1777 variables in the Magellanic Clouds, summarizing her work. In these clouds, Leavitt discovered 969 variable stars in the small cloud and 808 variable stars in the large cloud, which makes a total of 1,777. These stars are classed as Cepheid variable stars. In 1921, she was made head of stellar photometry at the Harvard College Observatory, but she did not enjoy it that much, considering that she became deaf as the years passed. She died at the age of 53 due to stomach cancer, but little to no credit did she receive any credit during her work, especially during her lifetime. After her death, however, other astronomers came to recognize her work. For example, an American astronomer, Edwin Hubble, used Leavitt's information to help him compute the distance to the Andromeda Galaxy, which is the closest large galaxy to the Milky Way.
We have Helen Battle Sawyer Hogg. Helen Sawyer Hogg was born on August 1, 1905, and she died on January 28 on the year 1993. Her father was Edward Everett Sawyer, a banker, and her mother, Carrie Myra Sawyer, was a teacher. Her parents strongly encouraged her to explore nature, including the stars. At the age of 5, she was allowed outdoors in the evening to witness the 1910 appearance of Halley's Comet. Now, mga ka-spacers, I would like to share this beautiful quote that came from Helen Sawyer Hogg herself. I quote, "Very little time is required to see and enjoy the beauties of the sky. Once you come to know them, they never lose their appeal."
The next female, or astronomer to be exact, is Margaret Burbage. She was born on August 12, 1990 in Davenport, Cheshire, England, and died on April 5, 2020. Fun fact is that both of her parents were chemists. When she was 21 years old, Margaret Burbage had the opportunity to start working as an astronomer. But despite being in the midst of the World War II, when she began making her first observations, she used a 60-centimeter Wilson reflecting telescope, and as soon as the war ended, Margaret completed her PhD course at London University College. Her PhD thesis was a spectroscopic study of these stars, or beryllium stars. Margaret Burbage found the great goal of her intellectual and professional life in astronomy. Burbage worked on other fundamental parts of astronomy, such as the masses and rotations of spiral galaxies like the Milky Way and redshifts to quasars. She was the first female president of the International Astronomical Union's Commission on Galaxies, first woman to be appointed director of the Royal Greenwich Observatory in London, and president of the American Astronomical Society. She made notable contributions to the theory of quasars, to measures of the rotation and masses of galaxies, and to the understanding of how chemical elements are formed in the depths of stars through nuclear fusion.
Allow me to do the honor to introduce to our spacers tonight your favorite female astronomer, who is none other than Nancy Grace Roman. Miss Nancy Grace Roman observed the star AG Draconis. Roman was involved in launching 3 orbiting solar observatories and 3 small astronomical satellites. Her other launches included 4 geodetic satellites. She also planned for the astronomy rocket program, high-energy astronomy observatories, the Scout probe to measure the relativistic gravity redshift, and other experiments on Spacelab, Gemini, Apollo, and Skylab. She also held various other positions in NASA, including Chief of Astronomy and Relativity. The last program in which she was highly involved was the Hubble telescope. She helped to sell it. She also organized the astronomers included in that activity or program, and eventually convinced Congress to fund it. After working for NASA for 21 years, she continued until 1997 her work for contractors who supported the Goddard Space Flight Center. She passed away on December 25th, 2018. Wow, very timely. It's almost Christmas. Now, okay, I will give you the virtual floor now. Will you do the honor to share with us, to share with our spacers tonight, Miss Roman's contributions?
Oh, sure, Santa. Thank you very much for the early present. Now, for Nancy Grace Roman's contribution, she was mainly involved in the Hubble Space Telescope, which earned her nickname, the Mother, the Hubble. Then later on, she worked with Jack Holtz on the Small Astronomy Satellite and Don Boroughbridge on Space Telescope. In the year 1955, she documented new spectral types, photoelectric magnitudes, and colors and spectroscopic parallaxes for about 600 high-velocity stars. In 1959, she wrote a paper on the detection of extraterrestrial planets. Then later on, she discovered that stars made of hydrogen and helium move faster than stars composed of other heavier elements. Then later on, she discovered that not all stars were commonly the same age. And she also did research and published on the subject of rotating constellations from its 1875.0 position.
Good job, Reindeer. Rudolph.
The late great Vera Cooper Rubin once said that there is no problem in science that can be solved by a man that cannot be solved by a woman. She was born on the year 1928, then died on the year 2016. She wrote a children's book titled My Grandmother is an Astronomer, and in the year 1951, she made one of the first observations of deviations from the Hubble flow in the motions of galaxies. Her PhD thesis upon graduation in 1954 concluded that galaxies clump together rather than being randomly distributed throughout the universe. The Robin-Font effect, named after Vera Rubin and William Kent Ford, describes the motion of the Milky Way relative to a simple sample, of galaxies. She was the first woman allowed to use the instruments at the Palomar Observatory, and at that same year, which that year was in the year 1965, she also had a permanent position at the Department of Terrestrial Magnetism at the Carnegie Institution of Washington and has worked there as an astronomer since that time. So in the year 1978, she researched and analyzed over 200 galaxies. Wow! Ang dami nun! And she began working closely to the topic of her previously controversial thesis regarding galaxy clusters with instrument maker Kent Ford. Wishing to avoid controversy, she moved her area of research to the study of rotation curves of galaxies, commencing with the Andromeda Galaxy. Her contributions were mostly or mainly about dark matter. Coming to this conclusion after examining star spectra in the Andromeda Galaxy to figure out their individual velocities using the Keith Peak Observatory in the mountains of southern Arizona. Rubin also did pioneering research in the little studied field of galaxy rotation, which she uncovered the discrepancy between the predicted angular motions of galaxies and observed motion by studying galactic rotation curves.
Blazing woman in the field of astronomy, we have Cecilia Payne Gaposchkin, in which I actually remember when I attended the first ever webinar held by BSYA, hosted by my partner, of course, Mr. Matthew. Okay, proceeding. She was the first conclusive evidence that H, or hydrogen, is the most abundant element in the universe. The abundance of H, hydrogen, and He, or helium, in the Sun and other stars. In 1925, she became the first person to earn a PhD in astronomy from Radcliffe College of Harvard University. Her thesis title was Stellar Atmospheres,
a contribution to the observational study of high temperature and the reversing layers of. On the year 1925, she detected the Stark effect and the spectra of the hottest stars. Eventually, Payne-Gaposchkin obtained a position more appropriate to her contribution. She was given the title of astronomer in the year 1938 and shortly after Phillips Astronomer at Harvard College Observatory. She actually also held that position until 1956 when she was appointed professor of astronomy at Harvard University. Wow. The first ever woman to become a professor at Harvard. She served as chair of the Department of Astronomy at Harvard University from 1956 to 1960, becoming the first woman to serve as a department chair.
Introducing to you the very, very, very great Margaret Hamilton, which she was the director of the Software Engineering Division of the MIT Instrumentation Laboratory, which she developed onboard flight software programs for NASA's Apollo program, basically. She later founded two software companies, which those are the Higher Order Software in 1976 and the Hamilton Technologies in 1986. From 1961 to 1963, Hamilton worked on the Semi-Automatic Ground Environment, or the SAGE project at the MIT Lincoln Lab, where she was one of the programmers who wrote software for the prototype or FSQ-7 computer, or the XD-1. She was initially hired as a programmer for this process but moved on to system designs, and eventually she was in charge of all command module software, or the CMD, or CMS, which was all the software for navigation and lunar landing guidance. She eventually led a team credited with developing the software for Apollo and Skylab, the Polar and Skylab programs. Then later on, her team was responsible for developing in-flight software, which included algorithms designed by various senior scientists for the Apollo command module, lunar lander, and the subsequent Skylab. Another part of her team designed and developed the system software. This included error detection and recovery software such as restart and the display interface routines, which Hamilton designed and developed.
Spacers, we are down to the second to the last trailblazing woman in the field of astronomy. I introduce to you Carolyn S. Shoemaker. Carolyn S. Shoemaker was inspired by her husband, Eugene Shoemaker, and she started her astronomical career in the year 1980. At the age of 51, searching for Earth-crossing asteroids and comets at the California Institute of Technology. She was hired by the USGS as a visiting scientist in the astronomy branch. Then later on, she began to work as an astronomy research professor at Northern Arizona University. She used to film taken at the Wide Field Telescope at the Palomar Observatory, combined with a stereoscope to find objects that moved against the background of fixed stars. Mga spacers, despite her short career in astronomy, she was able to discover a total of 32 comets and discovered more than 500 asteroids, which is a pretty good number now because she started late, with her most notable discovery in the Shoemaker-Levy 9 comet.
So with that, everyone, there's just one last astronomer that I would like everyone to know who that person is. So Sandra, did you know that the first image of a black hole was discovered by none other than a female astronomer?
I did not know about that. Okay, sige nga, Rudolph. Prove to us that you are not just Santa's red-nosed reindeer.
So guys, the first black hole the first image of a black hole was discovered by Katie Bowman, which she was a fellow postdoctoral who's studying at Harvard, which she developed a code to find the black hole needle in the haystack of data collected from the effort, which the photo that's currently being presented right now was the first time she saw the results of that work with that black hole image on her computer screen. This is a photo of pure Eureka moment. This is a pure Eureka moment, in fact. Because who wouldn't be surprised by like digging out at how many months of data, how many years of compiled data to finally find the image that you're looking for. And for me, I'm quite amazed. So with that, that's our topic for today. And oh nga mga ka-spacers, would Santa do the honors and tell them what's up?
I would gladly. So mga ka-spacers, there is only 5 days left to go until it is Christmas. So make sure to leave some cookies and milk and expect me to fill up your Christmas stockings and place gifts under the Christmas tree. Once again, I am Hannah Marie Franstan, your Santa for tonight, telling all of you, a life spent in the routine of science need not destroy the attractive human element of a woman's nature.
And my name is Shiva Cruz, your reindeer, Rudolph, telling you to fly high, aim high, and find the star that's meant for you. Merry Christmas, everyone, and a Happy New Year to all. Thank you!
Guys, that's our work head committee right there. The one with the glasses and the reindeer.
Yes,
Bye,
sir.
everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Alright mga ka-spacers, so I hope you have learned a lot about that last video about trailblazing women in astronomy. And in fact mga ka-spacers, if you will recall, that was the theme for our World Space Week celebration 2021. Alright, so in this last video mga ka-spacers, we will be focusing on mankind's life in space. Alright, so sana samahan niyo po kami mga ka-spacers, tumutok lang kayo. And again, if you have any comments or reactions in our video presentations, just type in your comments or reactions in our comment section below. And we would like to hear from you mga ka-spacers. Alright, so let's not waste any more time. Let's watch this!
A supercalifragilisticexpialidocious day to everyone. I am Katrina Ramos.
And I am Giancarlo Martin.
Proudly presenting BSYA's Day 11 entitled All About Astronauts, Mankind's Life in Space.
Nako partner, that sounds interesting. O sige nga, if you're aware of the topic, give me some names of the famous astronauts that changed the face of science.
The famous astronauts that I know changed the face of science are Neil Armstrong, Gene Cernan, Yuri Gagarin, at syempre partner. There are many more people who contributed and changed the face of science.
Without further ado, pag-usapan na natin how their lives have been.
A little background muna on their general experiences partner. For over 50 years, NASA's Human Research Program or the HRP has studied what happens to the human body in space. Researchers are using what they learned to design procedures, devices and strategies to keep astronauts safe and healthy throughout their mission. So for the ascent and re-entry partner, during takeoff and re-entry, space travelers can experience several times of normal gravity. An untrained person can usually withstand about 3 gravitational force, but can black out at 4 to 6 gravitational force. So the G-force in the vertical direction is more difficult to tolerate than a force perpendicular to the spine, because blood flows away from the brain and eyes. First, the person experiences a temporary loss of vision, and then at a higher G-forces, loses consciousness. G-force training in a G-suit, which constricts the body to keep more blood in the head, can mitigate the effects. Most spacecrafts are designed to keep G-forces within comfortable limits.
Nako partner, you're starting to amaze me with your knowledge, huh?
Wait partner, there's more. There are a lot of things to consider during space exploration, such as space radiation, isolation, confinement, distance to Earth, gravity fields, hostile or close environments, fluid redistribution, vacuum, weightlessness, lastly, bone and muscle deterioration. When heading back home after an extended trip in space can be difficult, not just for your body, but for your mental state also. Depending on the duration of the trip, it can take on an average anywhere from 45 days to a couple of months, or even a year, for people to readjust being back on planet Earth. This is due to the effects of microgravity. Astronauts usually go through a period of physical therapy as their body needs to readjust to the gravity on Earth. Astronauts are even mentally evaluated after they return, something that NASA takes very seriously.
Thank you for that information, partner. You never fail to amaze me. Pero syempre, ako din meron akong pabaon.
Sige nga partner, parinig nga naman yan.
This is about one of the world's most famous astronauts. Can you guess kung sino siya, partner?
Neil Armstrong, partner.
Tumpak, partner. Neil Armstrong is one of the most famous astronauts in the world. He is born in Wapakoneta, Ohio on August 5, 1930. Armstrong entered the NASA astronaut program in 1962 and was command pilot for his first mission, Gemini 8, in 1966, and he was spacecraft commander for Apollo 11. During his early years, he completed his degree in 1955 and immediately became a research pilot for the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics. Later, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, on March 16, 1966. Armstrong, as command pilot of Gemini 8, and David R. Ascot rendezvoused with an unmanned Agena rocket and completed the first manual space docking maneuver. After the docking, a rocket thruster malfunction sent the spacecraft into an uncontrolled spin and forced them to separate from the Agena.
Grabe partner! Ang talino naman pala talaga ni Neil Armstrong. Talaga nga namang Armstrong nga.
When the first moon exploration started 4 days later at 4:17 p.m. U.S. Eastern Daylight Time, the Eagle Lunar Landing Module, guided manually by Armstrong, touched down on a plain near the southwestern edge of the Sea of Tranquility, Mare Tranquillitatis, at 10:56 p.m. EDT on July 20, 1969. Armstrong stepped from the Eagle onto the moon's dusty surface with the words, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." In the excitement of the moment, Armstrong skipped the A in the statement that he had prepared. Armstrong and Aldrin left the module for more than 2 hours and deployed scientific instruments, collected surface samples, and took numerous photographs.
Akala mo ba ikaw lang, partner? Let me introduce Gene Cernan, the second American to walk in space. Cernan was an American astronaut, naval aviator, electrical engineer, aeronautical engineer, and fighter pilot. Cernan became the 11th man to walk on Moon during the Apollo 17 mission. He is the last man to walk on the Moon as of 2021, having re-entered the Apollo lunar module after Harrison Schmitt on their third and final lunar excursion.
What more, partner? This seems interesting.
Cernan earned a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from Purdue University and was commissioned in the United States Navy in 1956. That same year, he joined the Navy as a naval aviator. He made over 200 landings on aircraft carriers. He earned a master's degree in aeronautical engineering from the United States Air Force Academy in 1963. He was chosen by NASA as a part of the third group of astronauts to participate in the Gemini and Apollo space programs in October of 1963. For Cernan's first mission, he and Thomas P. Stafford were launched into space on June 3, 1966 in Gemini 9. Cernan became the second American to walk in space when he undertook more than 2 hours of extravehicular activity in what proved to be a dangerously faulty spacesuit. During the 3-day mission, Gemini 9 rendezvoused 3 times with a target vehicle. Cernan declined the chance to walk on the Moon as the lunar module pilot of Apollo 16, preferring to risk missing a flight for the chance to command his mission. Cernan returned to the Apollo rotation as commander of the backup crew of Cernan, Ronald E. Evans, and Joe Engle for Apollo 14, putting him in a position to command his crew on Apollo 17.
Naku partner, kilala mo naman ata masyado si Sir Nan. Halatang idol mo ha.
Eto pa, partner. On their way to the moon, the Apollo 17 crew took one of the most iconic photographs in space program history. The full view of the Earth, dubbed the Blue Marble. Despite its frame, the photograph hasn't been appreciated. Cernan said in 2007, he and Schmidt, a geologist, explored the Taurus Littoral region of the moon's surface during December 11 to 14, collecting some 115 kilograms or approximately 249 pounds of lunar rocks and other surface materials for study. Last but not least, in 1976, Cernan retired from the Navy with the rank of captain and went from NASA into private business, becoming the executive vice president of Coral Petroleum Incorporated. Before starting his own company, the Cernan Corporation, in 1981, and in 1999, with co-author Donald A. Davis, he published his memoir, The Last Man on the Moon, which is about his naval and NASA career. He is featured in the space exploration documentary In the Shadow of the Moon, in which he said, "Truth needs no defense, and nobody can take those footsteps I made on the surface of the moon away from me." Cernan also contributed to the book of the same name.
Super bright mo talaga partner. Ang dami kong natutunan sa'yo.
Wala mo pa ako, partner. Sus, ikaw nga may flip-flip ka dyan eh.
Sana maraming ding natutunan ang ating viewers.
Oo nga. Thank you guys. Till the next time ulit.
Alright mga ka-spacers, so there you have it. Our Christmas presentation, 12 Days of Astronomy, hosted by the BEDAN Society of Young Astronomers. So sana po nag-enjoy po kayo at sana marami kayong natutunan sa mga video presentations na ginawa po ng mga members ng BSYA. So again, if you have any comments or reactions in our Christmas presentation tonight, please feel free to type in your reactions or your comments or even questions in our comment section below. And we would like to hear from you, mga ka-spacers natin out there. Alright, so in behalf of the officers and crew of the BEDAN Society of Young Astronomers and also in behalf of the administrators of San Beda University, Manila, we would like to greet everybody, mga ka-spacers natin out there, a Merry Christmas and a safe and prosperous New Year. So hanggang dito na lang po tayo. Marami pong salamat sa inyong walang sawang pagtutok sa aming mga live stream events dito sa BSYA. This is your Ka-Spacer and Space Commander Professor June Cajigal saying, live long and prosper. Alright, Merry Christmas mga Ka-Spacers and a Happy New Year. Stay safe everybody. Bye-bye.
That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever was, lived out their lives.
It is a wonderful and astonishing thing to me that you and I, are somehow at least one of the ways that the universe knows itself.
Those worlds in space are as countless as all the grains of sand on all the beaches of the earth. Each of those worlds is as real as ours. In every one of them, there's a succession of incidents, events, occurrences, which influence its future.
We are special because we're the same. We are one, not only with each other, but with the universe itself.
I know Hamlet, and what he might say with irony, I say with conviction. What a piece of work is man! How noble it is, how infinite, faculty, in form, in movement, how express and admirable, in action, how like an angel, in apprehension, how like a god.
It is the struggle itself that is most important. We must strive to be more than we are, Law. It does not matter that we will never reach our ultimate goal. The effort yields its own rewards.
Ten, 9, 8.
Let's rock and roll!
6.
Someone couldn't took the lamp away. I looked around, a lousy candles all I found. Well, you don't know what we can find. Why don't you come with me, little girl?